Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Rising, Finding Your Life Calling with me, Thola Bennie. And today I have an amazing guest by the name of Shannon Petrovic. I hope that's how you pronounce the last name. I forgot to check.
It's close
And
enough.
Shannon is in Tucson, Arizona. And Shannon, I'm going to invite you to just say a quick hello, and then we will go into the discussion.
Hi, Tola, and hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's such an honor to have you, and thank you for your time. So, Shannon is a therapist and author, and also has a very big, successful YouTube channel. We will talk about that a bit later into the discussion. So, basically, she helps survivors of narcissistic relationships and other toxic abusive relationships. Shannon, please just start us off by giving us a bit of background in terms of the work that you do. Maybe how you came to do this work, and then what is it, and how do you help your clients?
So, I've been a therapist for over 35 years and working with a really broad range of clients on a really broad range of issues.
Yeah.
And then I decided about 4 years ago to start a YouTube channel just to share strategies, insights, perspectives that I felt everyone in the world should know. And no
Yes.
one, so many millions of people around the world don't have access to mental health information. So I wanted to share. And when I started that channel, the things that people really wanted to know and really kept coming back to were relationship issues, and
Hmm.
specifically narcissistic relationship
Yeah.
issues around abuse and control and manipulation. So my channel began to really gravitate towards those aspects of the content. And the more I developed that, the more people really wanted to know,
Yeah.
and it became really focused on that. And then I wanted to pull it all together into a book, and so I wrote the book this year and published it in May.
Amazing, and congratulations. I saw that the book is was named number one on the Amazon, Amazon bestseller in the self-help for abuse category. That's quite huge.
Thanks,
So
Thomas.
I would really suggest that everybody maybe gets a copy or just have a look at when people go on Amazon, can they have a preview of the book?
Absolutely. You can read a lot of the pages before you commit to buying it. You can buy it on Kindle. I think it's even
Aha,
still on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have that, you can get it for free.
right.
And I've kept it very inexpensive. I don't want anyone
Aha,
to not be able to get it. So it's very inexpensive,
affordable.
very affordable, and very accessible. Doesn't have any kind of um, therapist jargon in it. It's
Yeah.
very direct and readable self-help type
For
of
the
book.
man on the street.
That's
Easy,
right.
easy
That's
to
right.
follow language. That's great. Shannon, tell me, do you also, I didn't, I don't know if I asked you this, I didn't get it. Do you also see private clients, or do you do the bulk of your work in terms of your YouTube and your book and all of that?
I have a private practice in
Okay.
Tucson, just 2 days a week with an
Okay.
office that I've been working for and known for many years. Wonderful therapists and psychiatrists, but that is a absolutely full practice. So it isn't
Yeah.
something that I advertised that I'm not looking for more clients. I'm really
Yes, yes.
very busy. So what I'm sharing
That's
is
good.
free and open to the public,
Yeah.
and then I do live streams every other week on my YouTube channel to
Awesome.
really share in a question and answer casual format, people asking about their particular situations.
Oh, I love this. And we are going to talk about the channel just now. Just a few questions from me, really. Um, and this whole narcissism thing, I feel like it's even more, it's bigger these days. And I'm
Mm.
saying that because I don't know, maybe when I was younger, it wasn't really something people spoke about. But these days, we hear so many people say, oh, I left him, he was a narcissist, or whatever, whatever. And, one can't help but wonder, is the problem getting bigger? Or, is there an element of using the label irresponsibly too? Just because you made it someone, then you call them a narcissist. I don't know. I'm hoping we can unpack some of those things. But anyway,
Sure.
let me start by asking you, is it possible to spot a narcissist before you even enter a relationship? Are there red flags that people should be looking out for, maybe, so that we prevent this problem of saying, I only found out when I was in the relationship with him? Or
Right.
let's say him, because I don't want us to sound like we are being what's the word when you are against males? We are not male bashing.
Right. Right.
But I think the majority of cases is women who call men narcissists. And that's not to say there are no women who are narcissistic. So, but anyway, let's use him, just for the sake of the conversation. Is it possible to spot one a mile away before you even enter into a relationship?
Absolutely. And I am really careful to use they and them, because
Yeah.
there really are as many women narcissists as men, but they tend to be more covert. And
Yes.
that is not necessarily any less awful for someone who's
Yes.
fallen into a relationship with a female who is narcissistic or has those traits. And
True.
it exists on a whole spectrum, so it can be mild all the way to really severe. And I don't think it's any more today than it used to be, but the word narcissism really wasn't used much 20 or
Right.
30 years ago. So
Okay.
when I first worked in a domestic violence shelter before I even went to grad school, these kinds of behaviors were obviously very prevalent in the world, and a lot of people were suffering from them, but there wasn't any kind of labeling of it as narcissism.
Yes,
That
yes,
has
yes.
been something that's come around recently, and sometimes people are using it as a weapon to try to put someone down or make them feel
Mm-hmm.
badly or make them feel like they are to blame for the difficulties in a relationship, and they may or may not be accurate. So the real severe narcissism is a lot more rare than people would probably think.
Okay.
But there are narcissistic behaviors and traits that exist on a scale from mild to moderate to severe. And there does seem to be a lot of that in the world today. I
Right.
think our cultures are very much more self-centered than they used to be,
Mm-hmm.
much less empathic and compassionate and altruistic as they used to be. I think there's a lot of focus on superficiality,
Yes.
which is what a narcissist is all about. They want to be puffed up and they want to feel good about
Important. Yeah.
their exterior look and how they look on Instagram or what have you.
Oh,
And they're
yes.
not really concerned with the internal character qualities and values that used to be more a part of our culture in the past.
Wow, I love that you even spoke about well, I'm a Christian, and so I'm going to apologize if you're not,
Oh,
because
I am.
great, excellent. Because I was going to say, when you were talking about the concern about the outward appearance versus the inside, and I just thought of this thing that God looks at the inside of us,
That's
the
right.
inside of men, whereas men looks at the outside. And I
That's
was
right.
thinking to myself, if only we could also just start focusing more on the inside instead of the outside. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So you're saying, so some of those red flags then could be things like,
Oh,
mhm,
so some of the red flags to focus in on that are really recognizing behaviors as opposed to what someone says, because talk
yeah,
is cheap, but you
yes,
can see behaviors in everyday life, when how a person treats everybody, how a person
from
treats
how they treat the
animals,
waiter,
how
or
they
yes,
that's exactly right. The waiter, the busboy,
yes,
the man on the street. Do they laugh at other people's pain? You can see
yeah,
that. If their humor is based on others' pain, or if they tend to puff themselves up and not want
mm,
to really be about getting to know you, if they
yeah,
are all about looking like they are all that and a bag of chips and you're nothing. So there's a lot of stuff that you can notice early on. And I did a video a few years ago called How to Develop a Trustworthy Creepometer. And so
Wow.
that's about,
People meet.
so we all ought to know ourselves well enough internally and have our own sense of sort of sense of self, sense of our own character qualities of who we are and what we're about, and feel good enough so that when somebody comes at us with a different sort of more self-centered, more manipulative, more controlling attitude, that we can see it and our
Yes.
creepometer goes off.
Yes.
And that we
Yes.
can stay emotionally separate from that person and see that that's about them. It's not about us.
It's not
And that we
about.
would be able to trust in that so that we can fend off that kind of attitude and that kind of person and not get involved with them. But there's one thing that can derail your creepometer. Even if you have a really good solid creepometer, if you get intimately involved with someone too quickly, it derails your creepometer. It
My
derails your
goodness.
whole upper rational consciousness because it triggers this substance in our brains called oxytocin.
Yes.
And it's the same substance that's elicited when we breastfeed a baby. So we create an attachment to that person that's as powerful as your attachment to your baby. So that's way too much attachment to a person you don't know very well. So I
Wow.
really encourage people to take a very slow progress into a relationship so that you get to know the person so thoroughly. You know what makes them tick. You know what happens when they're disappointed or upset or frustrated or sad or mad. What do they do with all that emotion? How do they handle that? Are they raging or bitter or resentful or all those things, or are they selfish, are they giving?
Yes.
You
Yes.
can see
Yes.
that stuff play out over time, but if
What
you don't
kind
give
of
it
vibe
time.
they give off. I mean, I
Right.
never really used to believe in that, but people do give off, we all do. Energy is real. I
Sure.
mean, we all give off a certain
Sure.
energy. If you
Yeah.
came on today and I mean, I was in a bad mood, you would have automatically sensed that the mood is not right, apart from me stressing about electricity. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, no. So I'm trying to echo what you are saying, that you should be constantly feeling your way through the
Right.
relationship and saying, how is this person making me feel, when based on how they are behaving in front of me and how they're behaving with other people. So those are all
Exactly.
the, things that should go into your creepometer. I love this. I'm
That's
gonna
right.
use it.
That's right.
Yeah. So thanks for that. And then now let's talk about, okay, so your creepometer was way off and you've missed it. You're now in a relationship with this person. And now you're starting to see the true colors. And
Yeah.
you realize that, okay, I'm in, way in over my head on this one. How do you navigate a relationship with a narcissist or someone with those behaviors? How do you manage it? Let's say you don't want to leave, and you, because I know some people, there are many people in the world who do not believe in divorce, and I respect that totally. And so now maybe you even went as far as marry this person, but then you realize a few years in that this person is never going to change. This is who he is or she is. How do you
Right.
navigate that relationship?
Well, I think a lot of times we can learn to set boundaries and learn to say the truth in love, which is what we're asked to do as Christians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that because what we tend to do uh, is that we placate, we people please, and we peacekeep.
Yes. Yeah.
And in
Oh
doing
my.
that, we can be
You're
we
speaking to
can
me.
find ourselves we can find ourselves actually being dishonest. So we're
Yeah.
not saying what we feel, what we think, what we need, or what we want. And in doing all of that undermining of ourselves and undermining of our truths, we are not giving the other person an opportunity to grow
Yeah.
or to become their whole selves. And so sometimes in the milder end of the spectrum of narcissistic traits, we might be undermining our ability to communicate and undermining their ability to grow. We're enabling them. So if we can
Sure.
find our truths, we can speak our truths honestly and clearly, say what we need, want, feel, think. And if they can then step up to the plate and understand and honor and respect our thoughts, feelings, needs, wants, if we can also get clear about the fact that I am not responsible for another person's feelings,
Oh my.
moods,
Yeah.
etc., and let them take
Yes.
hold of their own moods
Take
and emotions
responsibility.
and
Yeah.
take responsibility, then we can start to clean up that relationship. Now, sometimes if you set a boundary and let's say somebody's getting really angry about something, it's really off the rails, then you can say, I'm going to leave and maybe we can talk about this later, or
Give
I'm going to
them an
hang up the phone now.
opportunity to simmer down.
Right. And so you're taking care of yourself by leaving the situation because it's not your job to be their garbage can. And so if
Yeah.
you do that, and then they start to honor and respect you and not keep doing that behavior, then maybe there's a chance that you can salvage that relationship. So the boundary
Yes.
worked.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes the boundary works in that it identifies a person that's not salvageable. So if you set a boundary like that and then they really start to rage and then they really come after you, then you know that that's not a salvageable situation. And
Right. Right. Right.
I don't believe any of us are asked to stay in a relationship that's
Like
a
that
violent
one.
relationship, right?
Yes. And you two things that I was making note of as you were speaking, because really they echoing to me previous conversations that I've had with other people. Um, Yesterday, I told you earlier that I was doing another podcast interview, and we were talking about self-love,
Mm-hmm.
and how important it is to be authentic, to always present your authentic self, um,
Right,
with yourself and in relationships.
right,
Because when you do that, you're also giving the other person a choice. They can choose whether they want to be in a relationship with what you're presenting. So you're not
right,
presenting someone who's wearing a mask. You're saying this is who I am with your bad traits and your good ones and whatever. But by doing that, first of all, you're owning up to your truth. But secondly, you're also giving them an opportunity to say, well, I'd rather not be in a relationship with this person because this is not what I'm looking for. So the same, if if everybody did that, maybe then it would also prevent a lot of people from being in toxic relationships, because you both of you coming together, even from the first date, you would present your authentic selves, and then you would give the other person an opportunity to say, this is not what I want. So that's the first point I wanted to make. The second point was talking about situations that are not salvageable. Because again, the person must be willing to grow, to change. So if you point out certain things, certain behaviors, they must be able to learn and be willing to change. But there are people who say, this is the way I am, I've always been like this, take it or leave it. In which case, then again, it gives you that choice to walk away if this situation is not salvageable. That is, now if you are not the kind of person who, when you enter a marriage, you in it forever. But then again, you so rightly said towards the end that no one should put themselves in that situation. I'm paraphrasing, but you are talking about,
right,
you shouldn't be putting yourself maybe in a dangerous situation, all in the name of you want to stick it out.
right, right.
So excellent points. I love that. Let's talk about your book first. What kind of information are you sharing in the book? What can one gain by getting themselves a copy? Because not everyone, you already mentioned that the practice is busy, and also not everyone is able to get themselves, to some for one-on-one sessions. So for someone who just wants to buy the book, what can they maybe give us a bit overview of what's in the book?
Yeah, I tried to pack it with all the insights, perspectives, and dynamics that you run into in these types of toxic relationships. And a lot of people are using it actually in dealing with a toxic relationship with an adult child, son or daughter, or
Right.
even a parent who's toxic and narcissistic,
Oh,
or a
yeah.
sibling, or a friend, or a
Oh,
coworker.
a boss.
Because
Yes, I
when
was
you're,
gonna
yeah,
say.
or a boss, yeah, and so it can be anybody. And what I've
Yeah.
tried to do is create an understanding of what might have happened in the midst in falling into that relationship, addressing the toxic relationship that you might have developed within your own mind, because a lot of us begin to, and this could have started in childhood or it could have started in the relationship, having all that devaluing coming at you. But a lot of people blame themselves. They feel stupid. They feel like they are unworthy of love. They're unlovable. They've begun to be so down on themselves
Mm.
internally that their toxic relationship within themselves is as harsh as the one coming at
Right.
them from the toxic person. So we have to address that internal critical dialogue so that you're not just
Yeah.
torturing
What's the
yourself.
story you are telling yourself? Yes.
Right, exactly. And so we address that in the book. And so it has information, perspectives, and then journal prompts. And a lot of people love to journal and write all of these journal prompts out and talk about, where did these messages come from? What do I say to myself when I'm upset or sad or disappointed or frustrated, or if I've made a mistake? And then changing those messages into the truths about yourself. So
Right.
what are the truths about yourself? Who are you and your values and your character and your what matters to you and what your life is about. So really sorting through that sense of self, because we in our world we have a really wonky sense of self. It's your bank
We
account,
do. We
it's what you
do.
do for a job. It's your hair and fingernails if you're a female. I have no
It's your
fingernails, so you
body.
can see I don't.
Yeah.
Your body shape, all of that
Yes.
stuff
Yes.
that we know is not what really matters, but people get lost in that. So we have to develop a solid sense of self, and
Mm.
then we have to begin to sort through what happened and why we got lost in the fog, and then how to get out of the fog depends on separating out the rational mind that can line up all the facts and say, yeah, this is a terrible relationship for me. It's really making me sick. It's making me feel terrible, separating me from my people who give me a sense of reality testing and support. It's doing all these things that to me that are really bad, and allowing your emotions not to really be on board yet. So you can make a wise decision with your rational mind, and your emotions can still be lost in the fog. But
Right.
just like if you had a radar screen, you would have to look at those lines on the radar and say, okay, this is the way to get through this channel without hitting that rock and that ship and everything. You have to take the facts and walk through your leaving that person, or walk through emotionally leaving that person, so that you recognize that you can still love that person and decide to leave.
You can love them and still wish them the best. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how this is tying so nicely in with the discussion I had before, the one I was talking about on self love. Okay, so the
Mm-hmm.
book is called Out of the Fog into the Clear, journaling to help you heal from toxic relationships. Quite a mouthful, but I will put the name of the book in the show notes. And it's
Thank you.
available through Amazon and how else is the other channels where
And
you
Kindle.
and okay, all right.
Yeah. A lot of people
Um,
like to read on Kindle.
Okay, and then let's talk about I'm going to start slowly winding down. Let's talk about your YouTube channel because I wanted to revisit that. Your YouTube channel is quite big. I mean, you have 23,000 subscribers and you've had over 1.5 million views. What kind of discussions do you have on the channel? And also the format, is it just you talking about topics or do you get guests? What's the format and what can one expect to hear?
Yeah, thank you, Tola. It's called Therapist Talks, and
Mhm.
it really, the 150 or so videos that I've done are spanning the whole range from depression and anxiety to boundaries to and then a lot about relationships.
Okay.
And so relationships and narcissism, and really recognizing and understanding narcissism, covert
Mm.
versus overt. So the covert is more the manipulative, the behind the scenes, the person that's really fake to your face and then is completely trashing you behind your back. And
So most of them are quite nice people, right?
oh yeah,
They're
they're
nice to
very
everybody. So
charming,
everybody's like, what are
very
you talking
charming.
about?
Yeah,
She's a
exactly.
nice
Right.
person.
Yeah.
They don't know
Yeah.
what's going on behind, closed doors.
Exactly. And so then every other week on Sunday afternoon, I do a live stream question and answer. And so
Okay.
people can write in during the week, or they can
Okay.
just jump on the channel on the live stream.
All
It's 2
right.
p.m. Pacific Coast,
Okay.
USA time. And so for a lot of people, they can't make it because of it's the middle of the night where they live. But
So you
people
said on
chime
what
in
day of
from
the
all
week?
over the
You
world.
said
It's Sunday
or
afternoons at
Sunday
2
afternoon.
p.m.
Mhm.
Yeah, Pacific Coast time. And so I have people, let's see, last Sunday, there were people from Malaysia,
Oh, okay.
Serbia, Germany,
Okay.
Scotland, the UK, and all over the US. So it's a fascinating thing that people join from all over the world. And my point is
Yeah.
really, and my mission is just that nobody in the world has to feel alone in this,
Yes,
and that
yes, yes.
there is help and there are people who understand what you've been through and can talk to it and speak to it in a way that might be helpful.
Don't you just love the beauty of the internet, though, that it has
Isn't it?
given us, this reach around the world
Yeah.
to be able to look at you and I now, we're speaking from thousands and thousands of miles apart.
Yeah. Yeah, we never
Yeah.
could have met
I
in
mean,
real
we
life.
would never have discovered each other. And I was just saying
Uh-huh.
to a friend the other day, she was asking me about the podcast, and I was saying one of the beautiful things that my podcast has brought me is just the opportunity to form so many friendships, from
Mm-hmm.
around the world. I've spoken to people from Europe and the US mainly, yes, but other parts of the world. And I mean, that's the
Yeah,
beauty of the internet.
that's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, and then also COVID as well. I mean, as bad as it was, but it also brought us that opportunity.
It kind of did, didn't it? It made
Yeah, silver
videoing,
lining right there
yeah, video
in a dark
conferencing became a
situation.
normal thing. That's right.
Yeah, okay, great. So it is the channel is called Therapist Talks.
Right.
Yeah, okay, good. I will also put that as well in the notes. Anything else, Shannon? We are going to close in a minute or two. Anything that I didn't cover that you'd really like to highlight?
Yeah, so you talked about self-love, and the last several chapters of my book are really about reclaiming and rebuilding your sense of self, as I talked about with
Yeah.
your character qualities and your values front and center, rebuilding your spirituality, your sense of
Mm,
connectedness to others, um, learning to rebuild your whole life, because some
yeah.
people have been so lost in that relationship, they really have no awareness even of how they feel or think anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
really rebuilding and refilling and recovering takes some time and it takes some effort. And so all of the insights and journal prompts of the last part of the book are about rebuilding and recovering.
Amazing. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Any wise words?
No,
No,
just
I mean,
live
you've
your
said
best
a
life from the
lot.
inside out. Yeah.
There's a lot to
And that's
digest anyway from this
hmm
conversation. How do people get a hold of you? Or, I mean, just to learn more. Do you have
sure.
a website and also your social media channels?
Yes, so my website is, you can get there by putting in therapisttalks.com or
Okay.
nofoggydays.com.
Oh,
That's kind of the
nice.
new name of it, which is fun.
Therapisttalks.com or nofoggydays.com.
That's right. And Therapist Talks on YouTube, Facebook,
Yes.
um, Instagram, and Shannon Petrovi 4. That's kind of a weird one on Twitter.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all connected. So if you get on the website nofoggydays.com, you'll see blogs, other podcasts.
Okay.
Yours will be on there,
Ah,
and all kinds of connectors to everything and
beautiful.
everybody. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I've learned so much from this, and I'm sure my audience is going to learn a lot as well. And I mean, if they need more information, obviously, that information will be available. So great. I'm happy. Are you happy?
Oh, I'm so
Let's
happy,
do a
Tola, and I
check-in.
really appreciate your time and having me on your show. You are such
Me
a
too.
bundle of beautiful energy, and I'm really
I hope
excited to be a
so.
part of this. It's so
I
neat.
really hope so. And thanks. I really appreciate that. I love
Hmm
that. Thank you so much, Shannon. So we're gonna say goodbye to our audience, but don't go away. You stay. So everybody, that was Shannon Petrovic, and we'll share the contact details on the show notes. Goodbye.